The clock is crawling toward 9:30 a.m., October 24th, 1929. The morning sun is hitting the narrow streets of Lower Manhattan, but not even the light can break through the tension hanging over Wall Street. Every broker, every banker, every frantic messenger boy racing across the sidewalks knows something is wrong. Something huge. In just a few minutes, the market will open, and the final hours before the greatest financial disaster in American history will begin. But no one, not even the men who built the market, has any idea how violently everything is about to fall apart. The night before, telephones in brokerage houses never stopped ringing. Wealthy investors from uptown mansions, Chicago hotels, and Boston boardrooms demanded answers. Why are my stocks dropping? Who is selling? Who knows something I don't? And the truth is, no one had a good explanation. The market had been on a ridiculous high for years, defying gravity, logic, and even common sense. Everyone believed the boom could last forever. Until it didn't. Inside the New York Stock Exchange, traders who had slept at their desks were still in yesterday's wrinkled shirts, staring at ticker tapes like they were watching their own lives crumble in slow motion. Prices were already slipping before the market even opened. The ticker was falling behind, sometimes by minutes, sometimes longer, each delay a small earthquake in the stomachs of investors. Rumors were spreading. Big banks were worried, major firms were preparing for something, and someone, somewhere, was dumping shares by the millions. But let me take you inside the minds of the people living it. Imagine being an ordinary American in 1929. Maybe you worked in a factory or ran a small store. Maybe you were a teacher, a clerk, a mechanic. Suddenly, for the first time in your life, Wall Street wasn't a distant world for the wealthy. It was your world too. Everyone was buying stocks. Everyone believed they were about to become rich. People borrowed money. They didn't have to buy shares at prices they didn't understand. It felt easy, automatic, unstoppable. It felt like progress. The country was booming: cars, radios, skyscrapers, electricity, everything new, fast, and modern. If the future was bright, the stock market was brighter. And this confidence, this naive belief that nothing bad could possibly happen, is exactly what made the crash so devastating. Now the doors of the exchange swing open. The bell rings. Traders surge forward like a human tidal wave. For a split second, everything seems normal. And then, chaos. Sell orders flood the floor. Not thousands. Not tens of thousands. Millions. It's like someone pulled a fire alarm, and everyone tried to squeeze through the same exit at once. The prices on blue-chip stocks, names so powerful that people believed they could never fall, began collapsing instantly. U.S. Steel drops. General Motors drops. RCA, the golden child of the era, crashes harder than anyone can understand. People who were millionaires on paper yesterday are suddenly staring at losses they can't even calculate because the ticker is so far behind, it may as well be lying. Phones ring nonstop. Brokers scream at one another across the floor. Runners sprint through the building carrying handwritten sell orders because the communication systems can't keep up. The entire financial center of the United States is panicking, and it's only been 5 minutes since the market opened. Outside, a crowd begins forming. At first, it's just a few curious onlookers. But as word spreads, thousands of people spill into Broad Street, staring at the exchange as if expecting to see fire coming out of the windows. Police set up barricades. Reporters elbow their way through the mob, trying to get any scrap of information. Rumors travel faster than truth. A major bank has failed. A railroad company is bankrupt. A prominent investor jumped out a window. Whether these things are true or not no longer matters. Fear is the only currency moving through the streets, and it's coming fast. Inside brokerage offices, ordinary people line up to use the phone, desperate to place orders. Some are sweating. Some are crying. Some are simply frozen with shock as they watch their savings evaporate in real time. A teacher in Ohio who bought stock with her entire life savings sees the price crash so fast that by the time she reaches her broker, her shares are worth almost nothing. A small-town farmer who thought investing in the booming radio industry would secure his future finds himself ruined before lunch. Panic is contagious, and in 1929, there's no vaccine. Back on the floor of the exchange, the situation grows more desperate by the minute. No one can get accurate prices. No one can understand how fast the decline is accelerating. Men who once walked the floor with confidence now have their heads in their hands. Veteran traders with decades of experience look like they're watching the end of the world. Deals that once took seconds now take minutes, and minutes feel like hours. Then, suddenly, something unexpected happens. A group of the most powerful bankers in America quietly assemble at the offices of J.P. Morgan and Company. They sit in a room thick with cigar smoke, staring at the numbers. They know if nothing changes, the market could collapse so violently that the entire economy might follow. So they decide to do something unprecedented. They will intervene. They send a representative, Richard Whitney, a respected figure on the exchange, onto the trading floor with a massive purchase order. He walks to the post for U.S. Steel, one of the most important stocks of the era. He loudly declares a buying price far above the current market value. The room stops. Traders turn. Hope, small but noticeable, flickers through the chaos. If the biggest bankers in America are buying, maybe the market isn't doomed. Maybe the panic can be stopped. And for a moment, it works. Prices stabilize. The bleeding slows. People in the crowd outside hear rumors that the crisis is over. Newspapers rush out special editions claiming that the bankers have saved the market. There's cheering on the street. For the first time all day, things seem like they might return to normal. But what no one realizes, not the bankers, not the traders, not the ordinary citizens scanning the headlines, is that this calm is nothing more than a pause before the real collapse. A temporary illusion. Over the next few days, selling continues. Cracks widen. Confidence evaporates. Friday is bad. The weekend is full of dread. Monday is worse. And then on Tuesday, the day that will go down in history as Black Tuesday, the market truly, completely, and violently breaks. Think about what that means. Thousands of people crowd the stock exchange to watch the destruction with their own eyes. Messages pile up on the floor so quickly that no one can process them. Prices fall at speeds that seem impossible. Companies worth billions one week are nearly worthless the next. The losses aren't just numbers anymore. They're homes, jobs, futures, lives. People begin to realize something terrifying. The crash isn't a single moment. It's a chain reaction, a domino effect. And the first tile fell in those tense, chaotic hours before the opening bell on October 24th. The final hours before the crash were not an ending. They were the spark that ignited an economic wildfire. Newspapers try to calm the public, but even they can't hide the truth for long. Editorials preach optimism, while the numbers on the financial pages tell a darker story. The government doesn't know how to respond. There is no Federal Reserve with modern tools. There are no safety nets. No unemployment insurance. No protections for small investors. In a country that once believed in unlimited prosperity, fear spreads faster than any headline. By November, the panic bleeds into the real economy. Factories slow production. Companies lay off workers. Construction projects freeze. People who once believed the American dream was guaranteed now wonder if they'll even keep their homes. Families across the country gather around radios listening to the news with dread, each broadcast another blow to morale. And yet, even as everything collapses, many Americans still don't understand how this all happened. They don't see the years of reckless speculation that built a bubble too large to survive. They don't see the loans that were never going to be repaid, the risky bets made without rules, the blind optimism that drowned out warnings. They don't see the foundations cracking until the entire structure comes crashing down. But the people on Wall Street saw it. They felt it. They lived it in those final hours before the crash. The exhaustion. The uncertainty. The moment when a booming nation suddenly realized it was running on illusions. Imagine standing in the gallery above the trading floor, watching a generation's wealth evaporate. The shouting below isn't just noise, it's desperation. It's the sound of men trying to stop a tidal wave with their bare hands. Imagine hearing the final prices come in long after the market closes, each number a story of loss. Imagine stepping outside into a crowd filled with fear, confusion, and anger, the air so thick with it that people barely speak. They just stare, waiting for someone, anyone, to tell them what happens now. But no one can. Because no one knows. The crash doesn't end in a single day. It doesn't end in a week. It drags on for years. The Great Depression begins its slow, painful grip on the country. Breadlines form. Banks fail. Families lose everything. All because of a few ordinary hours that spiraled into an extraordinary disaster. And those final hours before the 1929 crash remain one of the clearest warnings in economic history. A warning that markets can rise too fast, that confidence can blind even the smartest people, and that when fear takes hold, even the strongest financial systems can collapse in an instant. It is a reminder that behind every stock price is a human being. Behind every chart is a family. Behind every market boom is the possibility of a bust. And that even the brightest eras can cast the darkest shadows. And the people who lived through those final hours? They would never forget them. Not the noise. Not the panic. Not the moment the world they thought they understood suddenly changed forever. Inside those final hours, before the crash took over everything, Wall Street didn't just lose control. It lost its illusion of invincibility. And the world has been trying to understand and avoid those same mistakes ever since.